Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about some features Gaijin could add to the game. We got some A6E gameplay in the back, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Very fun aircraft. And make sure to join the Discord. A lot of aviation enthusiasts in there. And today we're going to be talking about AWACS, of course, and some other features. So you can see here Gaijin has added a feature where you can do an air alert, which basically uses either AWACS or ground radar to detect where bandits are, right? And this feature gives you azimuth, altitude, and how far, that sort of deal. It gives you the basic information, but it's really not that helpful. I mean, I can't think of one time where I've actually used it and it's worked like properly, because most of the time, by the time it actually is in use, I can't see the person because they've moved, right? Unless you're using like radar, you can sort of capitulate, be like, maybe he went left or right and slewed over there. But for the most part, it doesn't really work that well. And that's because it's not really fully implemented. It seems half-made, to be honest. It feels like a feature that they would add to a dev server and then just take away and never talk about again. Like the R73, which should totally be in the game. And I'll make a video on that later. Anyway, but AWACS needs to be updated. AWACS and ground radar, right? Because you can have ground radar sites in AWACS. They can work together and they can tell you like, hey, targets are here, 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 that sort of deal, if you request it. And I feel like this would be a super helpful feature because, especially in Sim, because a lot of players have a hard time IFFing, even though the radars have IFF. And sometimes the maps, they just feel too big in a sense. Now, I'm not saying I don't like big maps. I love big maps. They're awesome. But AWACS should be able to vector you towards enemies or their general area so you can find them a little easier. Because you'll get sim games and RB games where the person just runs at the end and they just, you never find them. And nothing's wrong with hiding. If you're good at it and you're still trying to like kill the enemy, props to you. But if you're just running to run and not even gonna fight, like, that's annoying to a lot of players. So I feel like AWACS could help out with that. It could be like, hey, there's a guy over here, he's this altitude, he's this. And another thing is, they need to tell us what aircraft it is. AWACS is able to tell what aircraft it's tracking for the most part. Sometimes it'll say unknown, but that's usually, it depends. I'm not an AWACS operator, but in DCS on Enigma, a really neat way they use it is they'll say, for example, my name is Spartan17 in DCS. That's the call sign. So I'll say Overlord Spartan17 bogey dope, and that'll send me to the nearest bogey/bandit in the area. Another way you can use it is Overlord Spartan17 bogey dope MiG-29, and that will vector you towards a MiG-29. And if there's a MiG-29, or if a MiG-29's not on the map, then it won't vector you towards a MiG-29, right? It'll say there's nothing in the air. So that's some ways you can use it. You can also say Overlord Spartan17 set tripwire for 10 miles. And there'll be a tripwire radius of 10 miles. So if a jet flies in that 10 miles, AWACS will alert you, hey, fish bed, blah, blah, blah. He's this bearing, he's this altitude, and heading this way, right? And that would be super cool in War Thunder. Some features sort of like that. And Silent actually made a video on a multifunction menu where you can use AWACS. It wasn't for AWACS, but you can put it in there because using the current multifunction menu with AWACS isn't going to cut it, and using voice commands with AWACS is also not going to cut it because not everyone has a mic, right? War Thunder's pretty accessible. Not everyone has a working mic, that sort of deal, right? But if you're playing War Thunder, we can assume that you have a keyboard or a controller at the very least. So I feel like if they use the multifunction menu to say certain commands, you can tell the AWACS to do this and this and this, and it could give you more accurate bearings and readings than it does in game, because currently it just says, hey, something's that way. Go check it out. It's this altitude. It doesn't tell you what it is. It doesn't tell you what bearing they're heading. It just gives you very, very basic information, and it really doesn't help. So Gaijin, please fix AWACS. Please give us new AWACS. And if you guys want new AWACS, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. You know, voice your opinions to Gaijin. And then another feature I would like Gaijin to add is an ECRB mode. Now, I've heard this mentioned a couple times in my Discord and in my comments. ECRB. Now, what you can do in here is you can add all assets, maybe besides ships, because that's like a bit much, and the ships aren't modern yet. But if you made an EC mode where you can have tanks, helicopters, and jets on a huge map, that'd be awesome, because you can set spawns, right? Like if a battle's going on in this town, a spawn pops up for the Abrams or tanks in general, right? So the maps aren't super huge, but a little area on the EC map is sort of the AO, or where battles. So just picture this for a second. You hop in your Challenger 2 and a battle's going on somewhere on the map, right? An EC map. It's a big map, but there's a small AO where there's a battle going on. You spawn in your Challenger 2 and you find a little nook and cranny on top of a mountain and you just start sniping T-80s. Imagine how cool that would be. That would be awesome. And you can put some bots in there, of course, to gain some RP and to give a little bit of a challenge, maybe give away your position. But you can also have players in there too. And the sides would actually be Russia or Soviets versus NATO sort of deal. It wouldn't be mixed like Tank RB, because EC is pretty strict with their mixing of aircraft and nations. They usually want it Warsaw versus NATO. So you could do the same thing, have it Warsaw versus NATO. It would be a combined arms. You can be like, hey, I need CAS in this grid square. Our AO is being overrun, right? And that would alert all the air targets in the air, like, hey, this area is being overrun. Let's conduct some CAS, and let's have some friendly fighters in the AO to protect us and help us conduct CAS, right? Like, that would be super cool. And this would give a reason to add harms, because currently with the game, harms, you could use them, but I don't think they're going to be super potent with the current SAMs we have in the game. But if you have like a Tor just in the middle of an EC match or in one of the AO battle zones or whatever, and there's like a Tor SAM player there, you can be like, hey, there's SAMs in the AO, we need some harms, right? And an F-18 or an A6E or an A7 takes off, finds the Tor player, and launches on him. And a good way to balance this is by setting up battlefield wins. So maybe don't have tanks be able to spawn in the whole game. Maybe have like, battle begins in a small area, and whichever side wins, you can't spawn in that area anymore. That sort of deal. And maybe even limit the amount of times you could spawn in a tank, especially SAMs. You're going to have to limit how many can spawn in at a given time or for each player, right? And maybe even add a spawn point system, but do not add a spawn point system for air targets. If you're going to go do this in Air Sim or Air RB, just don't touch spawn points for air targets. But for ground targets, yeah, I would add spawn points for them, especially if the focus is on the air combat, right? Ground combat's just to see which side wins the whole EC match. But there's many variations of this that you can do. You can swap it around and make the main focus tanks, but I want it to be in an EC fashion to where the match keeps going and there's more stakes, because currently with Tank Sim, the matches are pretty quick and they're pretty small. And with Air EC, killing air targets is fun, but like sometimes I would like to hop in a helicopter, a Hind, and bomb a couple tanks, or hop in AA and shoot down jets that are unlucky enough to fly over me. And the maps are big enough to where you can avoid the AAs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. I would really like to see if you guys agree with this or don't agree with this and why. But other than that, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys have a blessed day. And if you guys like the content, give it the like button a smash. I mean, just smash it into the ground, and cauterize the subscribe button. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and God bless. Take care.